Hey there. Here we go. Hi, ladies. How's it going?
Hey,
Hello.
Hey there. Here we go. Uh-oh. Is that an echo? We got an echo? What a crazy morning this has been trying to get going. We got an echo. What a crazy morning this has been trying to get going. Huh. Okay, Kelly, we can't do anything with that echo.
I don't think it's on my side.
We can't do anything with that echo.
I don't think it's on my side.
We can't do anything with that echo.
Let's
I'm not sure what to do with that. But that's going to be very distracting, I think. I'm not sure what to do with that.
Yes.
But that's going to be very distracting, I think. I'm not sure what to do with that. Yes. But that's going to be very distracting, I think. Does somebody have their phone on or something? Is there?
My phone, it's not
I
on.
don't have the phone or YouTube on.
I may have just found the problem. How's that?
Hey.
It's just been one of those mornings. Okay. All right. Hello.
Oh, she froze.
Technical issues this morning, so pray for us. Maybe pray for us. That's a good idea. All righty. So this is the dream. It's called Driver's License. And I'm just going to go ahead and read the dream. We're going to go into starting to process it, and yeah, we'll just see where the Lord takes us. I am going to say a prayer real quick. I'm going to pray real quick. Father, I just thank you that you have us covered, that everything that needs to be connected is connected, everything that needs to work is working. Father, that we have exactly what is necessary to accomplish what you have called us to do today, Father, and what is on your heart today with this message and this dream. And we just thank you for that. And we don't give any attention to all of the stuff that's going on and all the distraction, all the stuff in the world. We're just going to follow you and follow your plan and follow your lead. That's all we want to do today. And we just give you all the glory and all the praise and all the worship in Jesus' name. All right, you guys, this is a good dream, isn't it? This is a cool dream. We're excited about this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and read it. I will recap several times. I'll read it all the way through, and then I'll come back and do just like the first paragraph, and I'll do that with every paragraph so that we can stop, bite off a little bit, chew it up, and then go back, and then we'll try to recap if we can. However, when you get a lot of data out there, that's a bit difficult to do, but it'll be okay. All right. So I'm going to always, by the way, guys, I'm going to always read the dreams as though they are my own. They're not, but that's the way I'm going to read them, as though I'm reading for the dreamer so that it makes sense to you and it's easier for you to understand the process and kind of what we're doing. So, and I'm in a line to get my driver's license. That's the setting. The lines are moving fast, but there were those who were crowding and trying to cut ahead in the lines. The floor was graded downhill on an incline, and the lines were in a zigzag pattern. Think, the dreamer says, think security at the airport. Everyone is dressed in black and white. So black slacks, white shirts. When I get to the front of the line, the attendant said I needed $20 cash. I had no cash on me. And so she used my debit card to do a digital transaction and then gave me the physical money with accompanied by a small document of some sort. This allowed me to go into a large crowded room with lots of tables and chairs so that I could sort of be in the queue, I guess. There weren't many available chairs to get one. And to get one, I had to walk a narrow line between two tables that were close together. As I did, my feet were getting tangled up in some sort of cables, causing me to struggle to maneuver. There were a few people who noticed my dilemma, but didn't even offer to help. When I got to a chair and finally sat down, then I was able to untangle the cables around my feet. Now we've got some, I'm going to just look back at the beginning of the dream again. Remember, this dreamer is standing in line for driver's license. Now, driver's license is going to be about your identity, right? It's going to be connected to your identity. So it has a picture on it. It has all your data on it, all of your credentials, so that if someone wants to see who you are, if they want to check your identity, be that a police or official or even for official business of any sort, they're going to ask for an ID and they want a picture ID. That's going to be your driver's license. Now, let's look at this sort of 2- and 3-fold. Driver's license also gives you the opportunity and the authority to drive your life or your personal expression. Sometimes that's a personal ministry. Sometimes it's your occupation. So it gives you the authority to do so. So the dreamer has the credentials that they need, but they're either getting a new driver's license or they're renewing. So it's time for a change, right? That we know. Now, they say that the lines are moving fast. That's a good thing. So things are moving quickly. That probably is even relative and relevant to where we are in the nation right now, where we're in the middle of this change. The identity of the nation may be changing. I'll be careful what I'm saying because I don't want to get booted off, but there is a lot of change going on. And on top of that, while things are moving quickly, the floor has a grade to it. So it's downhill at an incline. Now, very interesting, because we can hear that downhill incline, and that would be another element saying this is not going to be a long process and it's not going to be a difficult process. You've already done all the uphill stuff, right? Now we're moving in more of a downhill motion. And then zigzag. Now, zigzag, like in the security line at the airport, that typically does go slower, but it's a back and forth sort of motion. Now, haven't you guys felt like in the last 4 years we've been in this sort of back and forth motion, even in the nation, where it's like, you know, without getting too governmental or political, we've got all of these things going on with, you know, the political parties, and you've got one doing one thing, and then there's this, you know, return, and then the other party will do something, and then there's this return, and it's this back and forth. And that is kind of what comes up to me. Ladies, I'm going to let you go ahead and give your comments here if you have any thoughts. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
That just came quick. I was getting into what you were saying. It's very, very interesting. And how typical for us, you know, like you use the example of downhill, you know, it automatically kicks our brain into saying, oh, this isn't a good thing. This is a downhill thing. But down can be to the foundations, you know, a very good thing. And like you said, much easier traveling. You know, it's not, you've done the uphill part. Yeah. And we haven't got to the black and white part yet, but
Yeah, but you can go there where everybody is dressed in the black and white, which is interesting. Black on the bottom, white on the top. Go ahead.
well, and typically we see religious spirit, immediately black and white. But I wonder, and again, this is why we can't settle into our knee jerk necessarily when we start looking at dreams or reading prophetic readings. But I wonder in this case, the black could also be classic. It doesn't mean it's wicked. It could be classic. It could be mysterious, just not seen, not known yet, where the shirt would cover the heart. And that might be a purity. That might be a genuine searching out for this mysterious walk that we're on, that we don't know how to wear those pants into this next season. We're just going a step at a time.
Oh, I completely agree. I completely agree. And it is a mystery. We're in that place where it's like, we were just talking the other day about flying blind. That's just the way it is sometimes. And especially with God, if you're going to be following him, you got to be flexible. Kelly, did you have anything else you wanted to throw in there?
Well, initially it's, when we hear dreams and learning on how to decipher and go through the process of, okay, where's this coming from? Where's it going? It's this navigation process, kind of like the dream is saying. So, if you're the dreamer, you kind of have a sense of, okay, this is the application. When I first read this before we got on today, I was like, oh, this is kind of a personal journey. And, you came in at a national level where this is kind of society in general. And it reminds me of the different layers of the information that could be presented here. And we're all trying to navigate through. We're trying to drive through these processes and figure things out. Is it good? Is it bad? What does this mean? What does that mean? And, it just reminds me of us trying to figure things out in general, as we're driving through, and trying to get our processes of using our authority with our driver's license. So I did find it interesting, since we're moving to the black and white, that we had both colors at the same time. And, my thought is, that was kind of a, does that mean deceitful, or, is that two sides of the same coin? Is it good or bad? So, like, that one part of the dream really got me into this could go in different directions with the colors, especially wearing the same colors at the same time.
Yeah. And, absolutely. There are so many different aspects to every element in the dream, which is why in any dream, when you're interpreting a dream, when you're processing a dream, you're looking for that message, because 99% of your dreams have some message, whether you realize it or not, or whether you give it credence or not. And you have to decipher, as you were saying, you have to decipher how you're going to take that, how you're going to go at it. So is it going to be, you're going to take it as a negative, you're going to take it as a positive? And, we're led sometimes by our souls, right? And our programming, right? Because a lot of times you've been programmed to think a certain way, or you have preconceived ideas, you have perspectives that you have really built, even your sorry guys, even your life on, and your processes on. And sometimes God is just wanting us to allow him to bring in the redemption of that. But where's the redemption of that? Yes, there might be, and you might be at some point battling, especially if you're a watcher or you're a warrior, depending on your giftings, you might really be battling a religious or a legalistic spirit. But as Darla was saying, we're in a new place and a new moment where the Lord is saying, I'm introducing you now to my mysteries, my ancient mysteries, the things you've been seeking me about and you've been looking for. Yes, you've been flying blind, but to get to that place where you have authority and you can actually have a strong posturing and understanding as well as revelation in the mysteries of God, he first wants your heart pure, because he always looks first at the heart, right? He's not looking at your actions and the boo-boos that you make, and that he's not interested in your sin consciousness. He's interested in you realizing that you are covered in righteousness, because as John says, we are in him, he is in us, and we are one. That's the place that he's trying to get us. He's trying to get and when I say us, I mean believers, non-believers, they're all created. They're all created by him, right? So he's trying to get us to come into a greater consciousness of the mysteries of the divine, and how the divine wants to be connected to us and wants to walk with us. That's what all of this is about. So yeah, you're absolutely right. So you have to be careful. Again, we're saying you've got to be flexible, even in the interpretation and the processing of your dreams and prophetic words sometimes, because there's a language there, and God always puts some mystery in it. And, he really loves all those sort of games and riddles. I get a little frustrated with them now and then, but he, graces me anyway. He loves me anyway, but he loves that kind of stuff. That passage that says it's the honor of, God to be able to conceal a thing, but of kings to be able to search a thing out. And that is a place where we become intimate with him, where we have to search it out, because it's not going to become clear through any part of our intellect or our natural cognitive understanding. Our brains cannot handle the supernatural. We don't know what to do with it, right? And that's a problem, because even in the religious community, there's a lot of stock put sometimes on that Greek mindset or intellect, right? I know you guys have seen that. You've probably all seen that, but it's a problem, because your brain is the word says that the soul is at enmity with God, right? With the spirit. So your brain is part of that. Not that you're not supposed to use your mind, but that mind has to be sanctified, like your imagination has to be sanctified. And we go back to the purity of the hearts covered in purity. And that's what God is looking for. And that's where he can trust us with his mysteries. He can trust us with his mysteries when we have a pure and a contrite heart that's been circumcised, laid down, healed up. He's working on all of us, right? Darla, you and I are on the phone the other day talking about the layers of, the onion. Everybody uses that example, but the reality is there's this very, very, very thin, like minutia thin membrane between the layers of the onion. And most of the layers for a lot of the body have been dealt with. A lot of the ecclesia, they've really laid a lot of things down. Right now, what God seems to be working on is that minutia, that thin membrane that's just enough to cause you to hear in a distorted way, or to see in a a way that's maybe not defiled, but isn't the heart of God, fully the heart of God. And that's what he's trying to get us to is an understanding of fully seeing his heart for us. And that's a hard one for us, especially if we have been raised with the religious spirit around us. I know that you guys were raised in the church, or I was raised in the church. I know you were, Darla, but it's a lot that programming is a lot to deal with, isn't it?
It is. And interesting from that really deep dive, the what he had to pay to get, or what the dreamer had to pay to get in, was needed that $20 cash. Well, of all cash bills, why the 20? The expectation.
Expectation.
And then the ticket, so they're required to come together. Maybe you'd have more to say about that cash purchase.
Yeah, and what it's interesting is, the dreamer finally gets to the front of the line. It's like finally their turn. Remember last week when we were working on the Foreign Kingdom dream, and Darla, you were talking about this very thing. It's like, okay, you feel equipped, you feel like you've been through the fire, you've been through training, God has had you with good mentors, and you've gone through the trials, and you feel like it's your turn, and you finally get there. And you think this is it. And as Kelly was saying, it's not the end of the journey. When you get to the end of the journey, it's all over for you, right? Your destiny is not a destination. It is literally the journey. So let me reread that part just to recap for the listeners. When I got to the front of the line, the attendant said that I needed $20 in cash. I didn't have cash, so she used my debit card to get it. She then gave me cash from the card, as well as a small document. So like a ticket or a place, I guess a placeholder. So a digital exchange for physical money. Now, my brain just keeps going directly to the national stuff and what's going on there, where even the cabal's talking about digital currency and all of that, and how that would require digital passports and all of those things, which most of us are like, yeah, I'm not really feeling that. I'm not really feeling that. But it's very interesting. That 20, as you said, is about expectation. And remember, last week we were talking about the difference between expectation, false expectation, and anticipation. When we get to know God and we're a friend of God, we become very anticipating rather than expecting. You expect because you know who he is. But in that dance of life, he just nudges you and you anticipate his next move because you know him in an intimate way. And that is what he's calling us to. That is so good. That is so good. And then the dreamer is given access to the large room where they are in the queue, I guess, to actually receive the driver's license. But he's trying to get through, or the dreamer's trying to get through these tables to find a place to be seated. You guys want to speak into some of that? Excuse me.
She looks like she's working at something here, so I want to give her.
Kelly's got something. You're on it, Kelly. Go ahead.
Well, kind of going back to the payment, because this kind of ties into that room, is, as you're going through these processes, the expectations, the anticipations, we're trying to navigate. And in that exchange with money, it's, the dreamer used a debit card, which means you have money in the bank. This isn't on credit. So even though it wasn't cash, this is something that was there. This is your fruit that's working.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So,
the fruit of your labors, right? It's your finances.
right. And it's not borrowed. It's, it's legit. So even though we kind of take that, what's in our bank, and turn it, which I kind of was thinking it represents, your faith and your belief system, and you're exchanging it within the money system.
Yeah.
That's part of the navigation. And when you get into this room and you get into seated, it's, you're operating in two different realms here, and you're using one to help you through the other. And I think once you get to the room, you're still struggling, but you're closer, you're further along in that process. So I
Yeah.
kind of, had to go back to the money exchange for the table and chairs, which I thought was, okay, now we're getting somewhere.
Mhm.
Using our tools to get to each position, but it's a step process.
Right. Right. And and that being seated, yes, it's about authority, but it's also your posturing. It's what position are you going to take? What are you seating yourself upon? Again, we go back to, it could be a bad, a negative programming, or it can be on the throne of Christ, which we know we are seated with him, right? We are seated with him. So yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. Darla, you got anything else on that? And then I'll read the very last paragraph.
Well, the bottom line is that the fruit was there. Even, it was available. He had access. Whoever had access to it, and this was required.
Yeah.
That was the only requirement to get. For some reason, you had to have that. From what I understand, the $20. But yeah, the expectation. I think we miss a lot by not expecting. You talked about programming and maybe early religion. In whatever denomination, some things as a child you grab hold of and you make it a part of who you are. And sometimes it's denial because, as children, we go crazy. We don't, we're just children out there living our life to have fun. And, but then as the discipline years come, as now you got to sit still all day at school, now you got chores to do, whatever, you begin to feel unworthy of a thing. And so I don't know how many times I've said, and I've heard people say that, well, if you have no expectations, you can't be disappointed. Like in school, why don't you ask her to the dance? Well, because, I won't have to be rejected. And even my own sons have made a comment like that. I said, well, is there a girl that you feel, drawn to for whatever reason? And it's, well, no, I just let them choose me because I can't take the rejection. Well, oh my goodness. if that's what a huge percentage of the couple, well, the singles looking to be couples beginning their families, their marriage, if fear of rejection is their reason for going with this person rather than shooting for that person, then no wonder there's issues, and broken families. But that was just, don't know, or making out. Is that
missing out?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the FOMO, right? Fear of missing out, too, is
Well-
another thing. That is another thing. But this all comes down to, something that the Lord's been talking about is, when and we know this here, but we don't get the realization of it where we can actually walk out of it very often. But the problem with trying to protect your heart, us individually, trying to protect our heart from being broken or being wounded or injured, is what happens is we have just put ourselves on the altar of idolatry. So it becomes self-idolatry, and then it also becomes self-prophecy, because you're never going to open yourself up, right? You make this, sometimes we make even a vow, oh, I'll never do that again. That didn't go well. I'll never, we make a vow, or we believe a lie, all part of that healing process that the Lord is trying to get us through. And we have got to remain open, and we cannot be on the throne in our lives, right? Only only Jesus can be on the throne, because if we're busy protecting ourselves, then we're in a very bad place. That's a very bad place. And it's plain and simple. It is idolatry. It's just another form of idolatry, which we don't typically see it and understand what it is, but that's exactly where it is. So if you as watchers have or are experiencing any of these types of feelings or thoughts, then please take the time to lay that before Yahweh and ask him to, number one, to cleanse you of it and to remove it, reject and renounce it, because that distances us from the Father's heart, and he's calling us into his heart. So let me read this last paragraph. There weren't many available chairs, and to get one, I had to walk a narrow line between two tables. So it got a little bit close, a little tight. It got a little tight, right? As I did, my feet were tangling up in some sort of cables, causing me to struggle to maneuver. Don't we get that way, and don't we find ourselves in those places, especially when we're trying to control the elements around our lives, just everything that's going on around our lives. We don't have control, nor will we have control. We have to relinquish control so that the Father can care for us in a way that is beneficial. Then there are a few people who notice the dilemma, but they don't even try to help. So they see it happening, but they don't try to help. I'd like to hear from you guys why you feel like no one came to the rescue. And then I'm just going to go ahead and read this last statement. When I got to a chair and finally did sit down, I was able to untangle the cables from my feet. I was able to get free. So what have you guys got on that?
Go ahead, Darla.
Well, sometimes you can't get to the problem. Sometimes it's you got to table some things. You got to get through some things ourselves. We got to let those peels go, rather than just grabbing that whole onion and keeping that in our hearts. So it's one way or the other. You can't have it both ways. But yet, why were there cables? Was there cables on everybody's feet? I don't know. I wonder. That I wish I could ask the person that. But yeah, sometimes we just don't have what it takes to go and actually lend that hand. And I don't know if we want to go here or not, but there's also some unkindnesses in many of the churches. And you may have tried, people may have tried, we may have tried, and then just get, sideswiped for whatever reason, or, one step forward, 10 steps back. And pretty soon you get tired and you don't want to help anymore, even if you did know what to do. But on the other hand, there are those who look and say, a little fight is good for you. A little bit of pressure, just keep going. There, you can do it. So I don't know.
Yeah, and then the other thing that's coming up is, you've got those people who are just, I don't want to be involved. I don't want to get involved.
Yeah.
It's better if I keep my distance.
I feel like people get to a spot where, I think people understand like everything's a process, because, to get your license to go to the grocery store, you can wait in line, you plug your way through. This is how it goes. Step 1, 2, 3. And, yes, we have to go through processes, but in life, but we don't have to be stuck in here in a process. We could be living through the process, but with our mind open in expectation and looking for opportunity. We don't just have to get stuck in that line. We have to look up and see the opportunities beyond the process that we can take advantage of. And I think, some people, when you're doing that, we're just kind of passing by. But if you go up to someone where everyone's doing their thing and you go, oh, hey, is that, the new vehicle coming out, from Dodge? And it's like, oh, what? Someone's talking to me? And it's like, we're just caught in doing our life that we failed to see an opportunity to make a connection, to get information. And, for whatever reason, something strikes you to do something. And if you're not paying attention, you're not listening, you're not hearing, then you're stuck here. So it's kind of double whammy in a way. If you're stuck in a process and stuck in your mind, you're just, there's no joy in that. There's no grace in that.
It's a bit of a prison, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like the cables. It's like the cables. It's you're held hostage.
That's no fun.
No. Yeah.
But then if you're stuck, why would people want to help? They see you struggle. Yeah, I struggle too. We all do it. Why settle? We're all just settling through the process, and we shouldn't settle. Even though the cables are there tripping us up, it's like, hey, let's at least put up some resistance and not give in and just say, well, that's just the way it is. Well, shouldn't be. It shouldn't be.
Yeah. And maybe we get confused, like the saying, you get into the weeds, you get out there off track. But these cables, keeps going through my mind, are they computer cables? Are they extension cords? Are they power cables? Type things? And to get those all tangled up in your feet, because we have the expectation, we had the ticket, to get into the room. So there is already a standard that is set inside just to get into this, whether it's a queue, whether it's where they take their tests, get their license, whatever that room is. There's already a lot going on. And, how many times do we do the same thing as, well, I need to look through my prophetic words. I don't know, is this something that I saw coming? Is this something that God told me about? Do I do that? Do I just get into the word? Do I call a friend and say, hey, what do you think about this? Sort of thing. So, and all those things can slow us down, when really what we need is to sit in that seat of authority and untangle, take the time, whatever, even in the crowded places, how do we do that? And and to struggle with all those, I guess it's the good things, even the powerful things, that can cause us to struggle to get to the place where we just need to be. So
Yeah. Well, and I think our favorite resident interpreter, Jill, had put some notes on this dream too. She couldn't be with us today, but she was saying, the tables are two different mindsets, like two different, and you're walking between that, and you're tangled up because you're double-minded. You're walking between two different, not only mindsets, but maybe, perspectives and ideas, and just trying to understand. And that, the word talks about how, when you're connected to a double mind, when we allow ourselves to be double minded, we can't be effective in any way. We will receive nothing. Including authority, because we can't walk in it, because we're so overwhelmed by the chaos of walking between two different mindsets and two different levels of understanding. Yeah, I thought that was a great comment.
Well, that reminds me of the black and white. Even though you think you're one way on top, there's still this, dark on the bottom. So, that comment about the tables also reminds me about what everybody was wearing too.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that is really good, because, sometimes we do try to walk a thin line, and, that sort of being on the fence about things will typically cause, and again, it's a form, if you boil that down, it's a form of idolatry, because you are not willing to stand in one place, posture and position yourself in one place where you make a decision. So that indecisive place where, I don't feel like, and that could also be, connected, the depiction of nobody wanting to help. Same thing. I don't want to get involved with that. Or I don't want to get in the middle of that. That's a mess. I don't want to be in the middle of that. Yeah, that is really good. Yeah, but you can't walk in that place of, black in the negative sense is ignorance. You can't walk in ignorance and purity, because you have to have that understanding of who you are in Christ, understanding that you're covered in righteousness. And so the mysteries of God, walking, think of the pants, the black pants, being that walking in the mysteries of God. And that to me is extremely exciting, right? I mean, that's where we're going. That's where we're headed. That's what we're engaging with even now, right? One of the things that I keep thinking as I'm just talking to the Lord about this is, we were talking about the realms, and Kelly even brought up realms, but if you are, if you're an imager of God, which we are the image of God, but we're also supposed to be imaging, like creating in the image of God. We're supposed to do what he does. He creates, right? So if we're images and imagers of God, then we're also bridgers of realms. And that happens all the time in our dreams. We are bridgers of realms. It's just part of who we are. It's part of our original and our ancient original design. It's who God made us to be. We are imagers of God, and we are bridgers of realms. And we'll
Oh,
what would be your suggestion after processing the dream? Some of the things that you would suggest to people that might be experiencing things that we've talked about, maybe just a double-mindedness or indecision or fear of making a decision. Fear is another thing, that fear. Just give your ideas of how you think you need to process through this, what you think God might be saying in this message about processing, and how to expect the goodness of God in everything and the freedom of God in everything.
Well, I think going back, like you started saying on the national level, if we're the people that are not helping through the cords and
Mhm.
tripping, look where that's got us now. I mean, we've been kind of complacent in being involved in the process of our country and government and such, and not getting involved is not got us in a good place, but we have to start on a personal level, because people look at that, well, I'm one in a population, but if you start taking the action on the individual level, uh, that helps the whole. If everybody gets on board individually, that helps the whole start to take action and, make a difference. And, you know, it breaks people out of that I'm stuck in a rut mindset to, oh, yeah, this person helped. I'm going to help do this. And it just kind of almost gives permission in a way for people to take action and get involved. And to me, that would be, part of the underlying message is, yeah, you're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to trip up. You're going to have to navigate your way through some stuff, but, do something. Don't just sit there and do nothing, because that's not really living, if you're not participating and seeing opportunities, opening your mind to opportunities.
Right. Right. Well, and you bring up a very good point there, which is kind of going away from, and we'll talk about this really on another podcast, but that collective consciousness where more and more of the population uh, actually gets a reality, like they get a hold of the reality of who they are, and it will change everything. It will change the atmosphere, it will change the frequency, it will change everything. I was worshiping this morning, and you girls know that my brother gave me a couple of staffs. He made me a couple of staffs for Christmas. He's a woodworker, and I absolutely love that. But I was worshiping, and this song was talking about that, connecting with Him to release the frequency, which is the glory of God, the glory of God. And the fullness of that glory, the word talks about how the glory is going to cover the earth like the waters cover the seas. But I was taking those steps and I was like banging them on the floor, like boom, boom, boom. And it's so funny because when I would sort of, hit the floor, the hard floor, they vibrate, which I didn't realize. It was so funny. I was like, wow, there's a frequency. Yeah. Frequency of glory. Yeah. So I just continued to bang, boom, 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 boom. And they just continued to vibrate. And it's just, it's so sweet the way the Lord the way he speaks to us and the way he brings things into our focus at times. I love that. I love that. Anyway, Darla, did you have anything else you wanted to throw in there?
Oh, golly. It seemed like there was there for a minute, but this has all been super, super good.
It's good stuff, isn't it?
It really is. It really is. Good.
But we were talking about this earlier, but that, confusion, identity confusion, even in the nation and everything else that's going on. But even in the church, there's a lot of people just trying to figure out who they are. I mean, I get orders for people wanting prophetic words a lot that are about their destiny scrolls. And can you tell me what God shows you about who I am or whatever? And we always hope that those confirm what the Lord's already told them, because you don't need necessarily a prophet to tell you who you are. God tells you who you are. That place where the Lord is calling us to sit before him and allow him to really speak into us, pour into us, minister to us, going back to the onion and that very, very thin membrane again. As Darla and I were talking about this yesterday, it's like you don't realize that little tiny membrane makes the impact that it does until it's been removed. And the Lord has got us in a place where he's asking us to lay everything down, especially the things we're not even aware are there. First, he has to show us they're there, and then we have to deal with it, right? But you're right. Sometimes, you don't know what to do. You don't know what to do for yourself, much less for someone else. Mm-hmm. So the Lord is giving us those 411, sometimes in dreams, sometimes through prophetic words, sometimes just in speaking to us directly, which is just his goodness, right? His goodness. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. Well, anything else, ladies? Anything else you want to address or speak into?
I think the identity. That's all I was going to say. I think the identity is the direction, the hot seat.
Yeah, right. The hot seat. Go ahead, Kelly.
Well, I was just going to say kind of throughout is, we can interpret things, be it dreams or, life in general, things that happen. There's a good and a bad side to everything. And if we continue to only see the bad side of things and not open up to the good side of things, then that's kind of the problem and solution in one, because the problem is we just always see the bad things. The solution is let's try to see the good things and, switch the scales. And there's opportunity there to see the good things. So we have to take it. It's not easy. It's not given. So we have to take that action. Absolutely. If it's not apparent.
And that just reminds me of the place where we make the decision to be grateful. You do that whether you're feeling it or not. Darla, were you going to say something?
I had something really, really good.
Good.
So it was that our future leaders might not look like what we think. There are creatives out there who, we could look at what's going on in Washington, D.C. now, and I know that when one guy was elected, I thought, how and why, But, it turns out he's made some really good choices. So I think we tend to see leaders as preachers, teachers, evangelists, people like that. But what about those artistic, expressive people that are so misunderstood and get pounded down to nothing? Their expectation card gets pulled, their ticket into the driver's license gets pulled. So, and the prodigals,
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
there's a
That's
whole
so
world
good.
of prodigals out there that are, they've lost their fear of people because they've already been smeared by people. And the whole idea of coming back home, they're
Yeah.
humbled. They're humbled. And they're already trained. They already know the word, So I think there's just we're at an exciting time where I think unexpected people are going to rise up. I mean, can't be any worse. I shouldn't say that. But, the people that look so decent and have it all together are burning our nation down. I mean, it's really, we have to be careful how we view others, as well as what we view in ourselves, and don't disqualify ourselves or anybody else until the Lord speaks into it. And he's always got the redemption, he's always got a fix at hand, ready at hand, if we're ready to come his way, and which is love. So he's good.
Yeah, he is, in an extravagant way, and he turns things around. I mean, he turns things around. Yes, we experience horrific things. We've all experienced horrific things in our lives. We probably will again, but it's that connection to the divine, to Yahweh, that keeps us balanced and keeps us safe. And it's the only place. I mean, we look at those people in California who now have lost their homes and everything in their lives. But they, I heard a couple of them say, but we still have family, and that's the most important thing. I mean, tragedy will cause you to prioritize.
Yeah.
And to prioritize in a wise way. Yeah. He's good. He is good. He's bringing people together, even in tragedy. He's bringing people together. Wow. Well, I just thank you guys for being with us today, and I thank Darla and Kelly for being involved with me, for being here with me. They're my buddies, and Jill, she'll be back. She's busy today, but it's all good. We love it. We love being together, and we love sharing what God is doing and digging into those mysteries that he brings out for us. And so please share and like the video if you enjoyed it, if you got anything out of it. That would be great. We would appreciate that, and we will continue to do this, and the Lord will lead us and will direct us in the way that we should go, and we will answer that call. We will do what he calls us to do. We're not going to do anything without him, but we will do what he calls us to do. So you guys have a beautiful day, and thank you for being here with us. We love you and hope to hear from you. Yes, comment on the videos too, and let us know what you think. We
Little freezer moment there. There she is. You freeze up just a little bit once in a while.
We do get frozen. We're still frozen.
In Texas.